All right. Hello again, everybody. It's a privilege to have you on board with Pro Football Enterprises. I'm Ben Parker. That's Austin Freed, and that's Shane Ratliff. We've done a year's worth now. We're at a year's worth now of draft work, draft content for this draft. I mean, almost a year's worth. And now we're doing team mocks. And tonight we're doing the Minnesota Vikings. And Austin Freed is a huge Vikings fan, so he'll be the acting general manager tonight. We'll hear from him in just a second. The simulator that we're using is called Mock Draft Hero. We like several of them. I use several of them year round. And I think it's good to use several of them, but the one we're using tonight is Mock Draft Hero. I don't think we're going to go through every pick for the Vikings tonight. We'll probably go through the first four or so and call it a night. But Shane is here with us. The way this will work, Austin being the acting general manager, he'll have the final say so on all the picks. He'll actually make the pick. Me and Shane are just here to kind of make our recommendations as we go through. So, Austin, take it away. While you're talking, I'm going to start the simulator and let it bring us to our pick. And you start telling us what directions you're hoping to take here, especially with the first round pick, but all the way through.
Yeah, I would love to go DB early and get a really strong DB in this class. I think there's some at the top of the board who are going to be available. So that's my main focus in this class. I also would love to add some depth at receiver, like a wide receiver 2/3. We've got Jefferson and Addison. We lost Jalen Naylor though. So I would love to get our placement for him. I'm not a big fan of what we did in the draft last year in terms of adding depth there, to be honest. So would love to add another piece late there, not early. And then at defense as well, just improving like the defensive line, the big guys up the middle. And I honestly am not super in love with our linebacking core at the moment as well. A lot of injuries to that group. And they're sort of aging up, so I wouldn't mind grabbing a linebacker if a really good opportunity presents itself. But again, just super focused on defensive backs, both corners and safety, in this class.
All right, Shane, we've got our marching orders, and we don't have to stick to them. If there's a player, BPA, if there's a player sitting there that we're just in love with, we're welcome to mention that too. But we've got basically got our direction from Austin, who will make the final pick. So, Shane, I'm gonna let you kick it off here. I'm gonna just kind of filter through the big board first, and then I'll go to any position group you want to. But Shane, take it away.
Okay, well, I mean, when you listen to Austin's marching orders, you first off of this big board, we've talked about Emmanuel McNeil Warren. He's a little bit lower on here. They have Dylan Thieneman that's up there as a safety. You can depend on how you look for that. The thing that stuck out to me is like Austin said, I do think even though you have some talent at wide receiver, you need an option there. You see Jordan Tyson, who I love in this draft. And then you need the interior offensive lineman. I think it's too high for you to go for an offensive lineman at the guard or center position where I think we can get something later on. Um, so if it's me, I would actually look wide receiver here early because I don't know if it depends on how you see the aging working out for the Minnesota safeties. If not, then I think either Dylan Thiemann would be high or Emmanuel McNeil Warren, depending on how you look at those two guys. But for me, I would go wide receiver and get Jordan Tyson.
All right. So Shane mentioned several things there, but Jordan Tyson is the one that he settled in on. Vega Iwane, interior guard there. I, I'm not in love with his pass blocking, but I think he can learn. I am in love with his athleticism and his skill set there, so I would love that. But based on your marching orders, to me, it would be Dylan Thieneman or Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Now, full disclosure, I've done a mountain's worth of tape study on Emmanuel McNeil Warren, and I think while he wouldn't necessarily be a great fit for all teams, I think him getting a chance to work with Brian Flores would be fantastic. So I would love to see that. Haven't done as much film study on Dylan Thieneman. I know a lot of people are high on him. I like him as well. I just haven't done the tape study to launch him up into this stratosphere yet, but I do like him. So I really feel like those two safeties right there would be the two guys that I would be looking at. So, Austin, that's our thoughts. We're going to kick it back to you. Give your thoughts and then make a pick.
Yeah, given the opportunity here with two different safeties, I feel like I kind of want to jump on that and grab one of them. Although Jordan Tyson at the top of the board, as Shay mentioned, is really
Mm,
appealing.
yeah.
He's probably the best player available here. And Vega is a great interior offensive lineman, a great guard, but I am not super in love with going guard in the top 20 usually, unless it's like truly someone spectacular, and I'm not that high on Vega. So I'm leaning between the two safeties. I I have identical grades on these guys. They come out to the exact same number. It's just kind of scheme dependent. The white safety tradition in Minnesota does reign strong for Dylan Dynaman, and I love that. If he could carry that torch, it'd be awesome. But we just talked about Emmanuel McNeil Warren, and I agree with your point, Ben, that he could be really fun in a Brian Flores led defense, where Thieneman, I think, excels more as like a kind of a true safety. McNeil Warren sort of has that X factor. So I'll go there.
All right, let's do it. You said Emmanuel McNeil Warren, correct?
Yes.
All right, let's pull the trigger on that. We'll let the mock run here for just a second. Shane, I'm going to come right back to you here. We've added our defensive back here. Real quick, Austin, we've added defensive back. Are you willing, open, wanting to add more defensive back help? Or okay, so you're still open. If it's sitting here, you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Shane, take it away. I'll just kind of filter through the big board here for a second, and then you go to any position group you want to, Shane.
So this grouping right here, just looking at the big board, first of all, Ben, makes it real hard for me because I think you already talked about, the play for McNeil Warren playing for Brian Flores. There's some guys at the top of this board that I think having him as your defensive coordinator really helps you. So Austin mentioned the linebacking room not being his favorite right now. I love Jacob Rodriguez. I think he's athletic. He does everything you need. He's going to be a leader. Um, I also see Eli Stowers for tight end. I think is a good run off of that. Um, if we go interior line, as Austin said, you want to lay the wait a little bit longer. Jennings Dunker is a guy I think that you're going to be happy to have in your grouping. I also think he fits into Minnesota. The people there will love him. He can wear a Vikings horned hat and yell skull, and they'll all, love him. And he's going to help change the physicality of that offensive line group. So for me, that's where I would go. I do think, like I said, Rodriguez or Stowers, depending on how you're looking, and depending on how Austin thinks the tight end room is for them. But I would go Jennings Dunker here. I think you're going to make a little bit of a reach, and depending on where people have them, but I think a great addition.
I like Jennings Dunker as well. I was actually going to go in a different direction, though. I'm going to bring up a name here, Jake Golday out of Cincinnati. You want a guy that's a real man walking around out there on the football field? That is Jake freaking Golday. I'm telling you what. And he operates in space. You just don't see that too often. Okay. No, I'm not suggesting that he's going to one-on-one cover the heck out of everybody in pass coverage, but he operates in space very well. He's very fluid. He's a tremendous hitter, but he's got the athleticism to roam around in zone pass coverage. And this guy is very much worth an NFL draft pick this high or even higher for me. I love Jake Golday. He can't do everything out on the football field, but still, just a real huge hulking guy roaming around out there in space. So I really do like Jake Golday. I'll stick with that. I will put a toss in here for Kristen Miller, who was somebody when Kristen Miller was getting talked around, and I saw in a lot of mocks about a month ago when he was getting tossed around for late first round pick. I kind of came out against that. But this is not a bad range for Kristen Miller. I really like him in run stopping defense. I don't think he offers very much in getting to the quarterback though. So just a kind of a toss here for Kristen Miller, but my preference would be Jake Golday. So Austin, back to you here. We can go to any position group you want to if you want to do due diligence, or if you already know the guy you want, go ahead and lay it on us.
Yeah, well, um, I do love the linebackers here. between Golday and Rodriguez, very different linebackers here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to me, Jacob Rodriguez is not a clone, but very Blake Cashman-esque. And Cashman is going to be a free agent after this year. He is the heart and soul of this defense, truly. He is the quarterback of the defense. And Rodriguez, that is what I love about his tape, is he looks and plays because he was a former quarterback. And I think his ability to learn under Cashman and then slide in after Cashman leaves in free agency, most likely, or maybe he wouldn't if we didn't make this draft pick. But I like going Jacob Rodriguez here and getting our middle linebacker, quarterback of the defense of the future. So going defense twice here early.
I love the defensive mode here. Let's hit Jacob Rodriguez. We'll let the monitor run through. Let's take a look at our picks real quick. Emmanuel McNeil Warren at safety, Jacob Rodriguez at linebacker. All right, Shane, back to you here. I'll filter through the big board, and then if you want to do any position groups, give us a shout out.
Hmm. See, this is where I think you kind of get in the middle ground of, do we go top talent over positional need? Because there's some guys that are kind of floating around on here. I think just from that first initial run, if we're going to go interior offensive line, we haven't taken out any of the offense yet. I think Sam Heck, when you get a Kansas State guy, they're generally going to be physical. He's a big guy. I think you can fit him in. He'd play well with the offense. One of the darlings I have, although he's undersized, he really is just a center. Logan Jones is also in that group. I think he'll play well for you. I do also think that Minnesota needs some help in the running back room, and Mike Washington Jr. is one of the guys that's kind of blown up since the combine. And at this level and the pick that we're at, I probably go top of the board, and I would reach for him right now. Let's see what we can do on the running back side.
I will say, just as a quick joke here, if we were to add Genesis Smith along with Emmanuel Neil Warren, we would have the best ranging set of safeties in the league, a pair of safeties, and some of the sloppiest, worst tackling in the league from safeties as well, as far as a pairing goes. I'm not suggesting that. What I am suggesting is the guy that Shane mentioned first, Sam Hecht from Kansas State. I like the physicality. I like some of the technical work there. You generally know what you're going to get from a Kansas State guy once they have a certain amount of talent. Sam has that kind of talent. I would love to drop him right here into the middle of the Minnesota Vikings offensive line. So without any further, exploring here, I'm going to recommend Sam Hecht from Kansas State. Austin, back to you.
Yeah, that interior of the offensive line could use some use. Starting center is a big need. Logan Jones could very well fill that in, and then running depth at running back is needed. We re-signed Aaron Jones to a 1-year deal, so it doesn't have to be this year, but because we've already got 1A and B on the team already, so this would be a depth piece. I don't love going third running back this early, so I think I'm going to hold off on doing that. And then we talked about Ted Hurst in our video earlier today. This is about the time where I think grabbing a depth receiver wouldn't be too bad of an idea. A wide receiver 3 of the future. I think he fits that bin pretty well. Are there any other receivers? Skylar Bell, I see. I'd rather have Deion Burks, I see. Just make sure there's no Brendan Thompson. We've talked about in like pretty much every video. He's going to go so much higher than he does in all these mock drafts. I'm not going to take him just so we finally have a video where we don't take Brendan Thompson because it's just every draft that we do, he's gone. Okay, let me see the corners. I saw a
All right.
name up there who I'm a fan of, and this is another guy we take a lot. I think we're all three just a little bit higher than consensus on Malik Muhammad. But Traden Stukes, he's a guy that I did not watch until very recently, and I am higher on him than most. He is sort of a safety high corner hybrid, and he's an older player, and he has some injury history, and he was a one star coming out, but he's a very unique player who I think Brian Flores could have a lot of fun with. So that's really high up on my list of just man, that could be a crazy two ads to the defense. Um, okay, let's do the reasonable thing here. Let's shore up our O line. I'll go back to you guys on this. If I want center, which of the two guys, Hecht or Jones, do y'all prefer for center specifically?
Shane, you go ahead first.
For me, it's Logan Jones. I think Heck can play that spot. Like I said, Jones is undersized, but with the offense that O'Connell plays, Jones is good positioning. He can put on some extra weight. I don't think he needs to put on a bunch, but I think center play, he's one of the top guys. I think Lou is there. Actually, the draft board picked him up right before we had the opportunity to do this. But I think Jones is the true center. He'd be the best pick for me if that's where we're going.
I I will concur about with Shane about Logan Jones being more of a true center. I just have Heck as far as talent and athleticism higher by a good bit
Mm-hmm.
than Jones. So, that's kind of where I'm at there.
Yeah, he's definitely the more physical of the two guys, but like it just kind of do we think we don't know if he's willing to convert to center and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. So maybe for
Right.
those reasons we just go Logan Jones, just to be safe because we don't know Heck's opinion on moving into center or if we've worked him out at that or anything like that. So just for the safety blanket, we'll go Logan Jones and grab our center.
And I will say I didn't mention it, but when you mentioned Traden Stukes, I like that too. Okay. I forget exactly where I've got him, but I like that as well. So, it's not bad if you want to do that one. All right, here we go. Logan Jones is going to be our pick. Let's remind everybody of what we've done so far. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, safety in the first round. Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker, and interior offensive line center, Logan Jones. All right, let's see what we got here. Apparently, I have paused the simulator, so give us just a second. Okay, 97th pick overall. Shane, take it away.
Well, so with the way that Austin picked in there, some of the guys we've already talked about still sit for us. So Skylar Bell, Malik Muhammad. I mean, if we're going true defense, he'd be another addition we could make. Ted Hurst, we talked about. Bryce Lance has been kind of a draft darling for us as well, where you think maybe he's also a Minnesota guy. So another one, maybe, hey, you think about bringing him in. Austin has made the Brennan Thompson comment. I think we just mentioned his name. We don't have to pick him, but I agree with Austin. He's going to fly off the board long before we have to. Um, hmm. For this one, I think we go Malik Muhammad. Let's get the corner in there. It eliminates some of the other issues we have. I think it helps replenish and makes this team a little bit younger on the defensive side. And I think that helps them. I think O'Connell can do things with the offense. And as Austin said, the Vikings do have a lot of picks late in the draft. So if you've got some guys that kind of sit and you're looking to add wide receiver depth and running back depth, that might be the place to go. So I would go Malik Muhammad here.
So I'm going to second the Malik Muhammad pick here. I do like us adding another defensive back, and I know, Austin, that you do like Muhammad. And I haven't said that. If we don't go the Muhammad route, I would be quick to start standing on the table for either Ted Hurst or Bryce Lance. I like both those wide receivers, and if we were going to add another wide receiver for depth here, man, they've got the size, they've got decent speed. Lance actually showed good speed at the combine, and so I like both of those guys. But at the moment, I think I'm going to second that Muhammad pick here at corner. Austin.
Yeah, Malik Muhammad had a pretty solid combine. He's a little light for a corner, but I don't think we super mind that for the use case of just having a super twitchy, quick corner, which is something I feel like this team has been wanting and needing. He had the fastest 10-yard split amongst all cornerbacks in the combine and pretty long arms, about 32.5 inches and a near 40-inch vertical. So really explosive. I think in the length makes up for the fact that he's a little bit light on his feet as well as how quick the feet are. I think he can have some recover speed if he ever does get beat with strength. I think he can counter punch with quickness. So I'll go Malik Muhammad here as well. I'm with you guys.
All right, let's make the pick. We're not going to make any more picks, but I will just real quick show the audience what might be sitting there at our next spot, and then we'll shut it down here. Again, we've added a safety, we've added a corner, we've added a center, we've added a linebacker, has been our fourth spot. So mostly defense focused and especially really back seven focused, if you want to call it that way.
Yeah, there's a large gap in picks here. That's why we kind of stopped there because we're down at the depths of draft boards where not a lot of these people we've watched any of. So
We're going to stop there. I'm just going to show that big board there to the audience so they can kind of browse and see at our next level pick, picks 163, what might be sitting there. Austin, thank you for the work tonight. Final thought here on what we did do. Was there anything that you wanted to do that we didn't get done before we close up?
no, this is a good. I like doing a mock draft this way where you get a little adventurous and then also kind of balance that out with some more traditional, eating your vegetables type picks. So I like the way this turned out, grabbing two players on the in the DB room that I think are going to make immediate impacts in their first seasons, and then grabbing a new center to come play and a depth piece at linebacker who I think maybe not is not going to make the most immediate impact, but will be great for this team in the long run. So it's a nice balance.
Shane, your favorite pick out of this group?
For me, it's Jacob Rodriguez. I think, like Austin said, he is a clone of Cashman. The other thing is, uh, so he can sit there and learn. The other, but he is awesome. At University of Virginia, started as a quarterback. They played him on offense to try to get him some more Heisman votes at Texas Tech. I think in a Brian Flores defense, this is a guy that can learn from Van Ginkel. Like you can play him around, and then all of a sudden, he might not have a ton of tackles, but he's made some big plays throughout the year, and you're going to be happy with him. The other thing is that's another guy that's returning to the Midwest. Like you're not bad if you're Minnesota if you can add some of these guys. Like Austin said, I think we had a good sprinkling of uh, your high end Peter Pan peanut butter creamy deliciousness, and then you have your vegetables just to kind of wrap it up.
All right, really appreciate it. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Austin, thank you for the work. Shane, thank you for the work. I know both of y'all have to carve out time to be here, so we really appreciate both the time and the study beforehand. Everybody have a great one. See you next time. Bye.